What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 300 Club podcast. This is episode 13. My name is Gilbert. I got my co-host Calvin over here.
What's going
I'm the
on,
Mets.
everybody?
I'm
Yeah,
the Mets fan. He's a Yankee fan, as you can
yes,
see in
sir.
his shoulders. What is that, bro? I've never seen that, bro.
It was actually a hockey jersey giveaway this year. I love
Oh,
it.
that's
Yeah, I love
cool.
this thing. It's actually one of the few giveaways I was actually able to like get to the game on time. And there's another one coming up too. Is Juan Soto figurine August 9th. So that's
Was
probably the
that like
next
a
one.
little, like a replica of him, of his like a bobblehead in a sense? Well, not
Yeah,
really, but
yeah, like a figure of Juan Soto. So that's next on my list. But man, this thing right here, bro, I love it, bro. It's actually like one of the good quality giveaways that they had. So I love this thing. I wear it literally almost every day, bro. I'm not even joking.
I saw the Juan Soto figurine and people were like laughing about it because it didn't like exactly look like him. You know what I mean? Like especially in the face. He looked
Yeah,
mad brown too.
not at all. You know how that goes. The bobbleheads don't even look like them either.
Yeah.
So we have I think it's an Anthony Volpe Gold Glove bobblehead night, and like a few of them are gonna have like the glove gold. Um, Yeah, they got some pretty good, and it's the same weekend too. They got some good giveaways. I love going to the Yankee Stadium when it's a giveaway, bro. I mean, the thing is, like, I never get there on time, but it is what it
Got I
is.
got I got a classic one. I don't know if I showed you. It's a Mariano Rivera bobblehead. I think it's his last season when he was a Yankee before he
Uh-huh.
retired. I opened it like once, but never like out of the plastic that it comes with.
Yeah, yeah.
My parents would sell it at some point in the future.
Bro,
Um,
they go for a lot. I remember I had the Derek Jeter plaque, the Hall of Fame plaque,
hmm,
and bro, I sold it for like $100 on eBay. I had two, so I didn't need it both, obviously in the house. So I sold
yeah,
one, but they go for money, dude. So you never know if this Juan Soto figurine, like you never know where he's gonna end up going next year. So
yeah.
we'll wait and see on that. But hopefully, as a good omen, I got a Yankee figurine of him, and hopefully he gets to
Right.
stay with us. But nonetheless, a lot has been going on since the last time that we had our All Star break episode. We're gonna go ahead and catch up to what's been going on at the trade deadline now that it officially has passed. Leading up to the trade deadline, what were your expectations going into it? Did you feel like there were going to be a lot of trades? Did you feel like it was going to be a buying market, a lot of teams selling? Like, how do you feel about the trade deadline this year?
Well, for sure, I feel like it was not going to be a trade deadline with that included superstars. I don't think that was this year for that. Due to a lot of them are on the contracts like beyond this season, so that's part of it too. Not every now with the expanded playoff roster too and the playoff seedings, I feel like teams are more retooling rather than like a full rebuild because they feel like they have a more competitive chance to make the playoffs as the season progresses. So for example, I know a team that sold a lot was the Rangers. I feel like they haven't
Surprisingly,
been
yeah.
they had the defending champions, but I feel like they haven't gotten rolling. Part of it is due to injuries. So I'm a little concerned as to why they sold so much, considering that like if they get healthy, maybe they can go on a run. But maybe they feel like they preparing for next year, you know. So maybe that's their head. I also thought Max Scherzer was gonna get traded again, potentially. I saw his name
Oh,
surfacing
really?
around. But he didn't get traded, so that's interesting. Who else? So the Marlins. The Marlins is the season is a wash already. So they might as well just get prospects. I did see a graphic that it showed like every player that was when Jeter was the GM over there for the Marlins. I saw a graphic that all the players that they had drafted that became all stars, they all left. Like Jazz was the last one that just left. You know, Christian Yelich, Stanton, Osuna, Marte, and the list goes on and on. And it's like, damn, like they can't find a way to keep them in Florida, you know, and whether it's the Rays or the Marlins, you know. So
Absolutely. Good point. And I don't understand it because I get that maybe the ballpark is probably not the most ideal location. One thing that I do understand out of Marlins fans or people that live in Miami is that the stadium is in a place where it's uncomfortable or something like that. But the other thing is like when when Derek Jeter took over, they had a lot of stud players. God rest his soul, Jose Fernandez could have been one of the ace. But as soon as the unfortunate event happened where he passed away, it seems as though the franchise as a whole ended up just steering the other way, and we don't know why. And Josh isn't being traded. I mean, we're gonna go ahead and dive deeper into that. But Josh Chisholm, being the last, I mean, that just goes to show you that when Derek Jeter was there at that time, that ownership group, whatever management that they had going on, they did a pretty good job, developing these prospects because these prospects now are in the major leagues and they're more or less excelling. So the fact that they were traded away tells me that they were valued pretty highly across the league. But it is a shame that, they couldn't more or less stay. But I am proud of the Marlins for doing those trades. They sold, yo, bro, they sold a lot this year. And it's one of those situations where it's like, if you know you're not going to be successful, you might as well sell in order to get a lot of prospects back. And they did. They accomplished that.
My concern is I'm not a fan of a team that's always selling to get prospects and never does anything with it in terms of like making a run. Yeah, you can make the case that the Orioles, their course mainly sort up of prospects, plays that they have built from the ground up. But
The Rays as
remember,
well.
they also have had to have some trades too, such as, for example, the Orioles traded in the offseason for Corbett Burns as the ace. I believe they just traded for another starter too, just recently in the trade deadline. So it's like, yeah, you have these core players, but you still got to be aggressive in certain areas where there is trading for certain holes that you need, certain veteran and position players that you may need, because you always need that. Same thing with the Braves. Most of the core players are internal, but they traded for Matt Olson. I know they signed him actually, like 2 years ago. They just traded for Jorge Soler back that won the World Series MVP from the Giants. So it's like you still got to make trades. And I don't see the Marlins getting in a position where they're going to trade for big quality players that are either too expensive or they're stars, considering that they kind of tried that in 2011, I believe, when they had one of the highest payrolls and it didn't work. So I think that's a factor as to why they're so passive and not as aggressive in trying to compete. Because, dude, if you look back in the last 20 years, they've only made the playoffs maybe twice. And the last one was because of the expanded wild card. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and then they made the playoffs in 2020 with a shortened season too. So it's like, and that's debatable because you can arguably say that they were probably not the strongest team going into that, but it is what it is. But we don't know what their game plan is moving forward. I think that organizations like Miami, I feel like they should be spending. Absolutely, I feel like all teams should spend, but I feel like they're in the same category as like the Rays in Oakland, where they want to go ahead and develop these prospects, and hopefully these prospects become stars, and then they can go ahead and capitalize on free agents or trade some of those prospects for good pieces. Like one season that stood out to me was there was a year where Oakland went for it. I think they acquired remember that lefty pitcher that he played for the Red Sox, John Lester. There you go. They got John
Mm.
Lester. They essentially made a lot of trades. I think they got like Grant Balfour from Tampa Bay Rays. They went for it that year. They had all these prospects and they ended up going for it with Josh Donaldson and so on. So I feel like these smaller market clubs, I feel like what they tend to do is that as soon as the team gets hot throughout the year and they feel like they can make a playoff push, then they'll trade prospects. The thing is that we don't expect that out of the Marlins to do that because their track record shows that they don't do that.
But my question to you is, before we continue, the ice cream truck, it's summer. Um,
Somewhere in New
how
York.
how sustainable is that for success for a small market team? For example, let's say you got a top prospect and you bring him up now. You have about 6 years of control before he's a free agent, arbitration and stuff like that, right? So let's say you have several of those players, and let's say by year 3 or 4 is when they actually like break out, like they like leaders on the ball club, game changers, right? That means you may have a 2 year window to actually compete with your team, assuming that all those prospects turn out around the same time. Especially if you're not signing free agents, if you're not trading for big free agents because of the monetary restrictions. So how sustainable is that? Looking back at Tampa Bay, they doing it over and over and over. Yeah, they got to the World Series twice, but they've also have a lot of losing seasons in between that, or they're good but just not good enough. For example, like in '08, they went to the World Series against the Phillies. They had Longoria, David Price, Matt Garza, Edwin Jackson, Carl Crawford. All these dudes, they couldn't afford them by their primes. And what they ended up doing, trading them away, letting them go for free agency, and then you got to rebuild again. Now you had Randy Rosarena, Manuel Margot a few years ago, and the rest of the guys. And look what they have now. Again, prospects or players that MLB ready, like Christian Morel, which I really like. Like he went to the Rays. You have Jose Siri, the center fielder that a lot of people don't like, but he has potential. But it's like can you really compete against the likes of the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Astros, the Braves that are consistently playoff contenders? You know what I mean? It's tough.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's sustainable because I think at some point, if you find your core group of guys throughout the season that's excelling really well, and then you trade some of those prospects that you held for so long just to acquire the star player just for the year, just for that 1 or 2 years max, it's like you're just trying to win the World Series at random. Like you're not actually believing that you're just believing that you have a chance at winning, not that you feel like you are gonna win it. And I think that's the biggest difference. So
And
I
then
agree
it's
with
like
you. I agree with your point there.
it's like let's say I'm gonna put a perspective of the Oakland Athletics, for example. Let's say I had Otani when Otani first came from Japan, and I can't keep him because I can't afford him, or I'm not trying to put everything I can to try to afford him. Like now I lost on a special player that's once in a lifetime to another team because I can't keep him, and I feel like that's what hurts the league with the imbalance of like money and stuff like that. And I feel like there's also no penalties for teams not spending. So also I feel like that creates an issue, which could be another episode. But I think MLB should have a floor cap, you know? So
Oh, I absolutely agree with you on that one, bro. Absolutely agree. Like it's a way that I feel like if it keeps going the way that it has been going, I feel like it's just not gonna be that good, bro. If it keeps going, like it's continuously gonna reward those teams that aren't really playoff contending. Like they could just think that they can just win in some sort of way of fashion without spending money, and that hurts the game a lot, you know. So I hate that. I'm glad that you brought that up, but nonetheless, I want you guys to go ahead and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. As I want to go ahead and share. We posting a lot of content about our episodes, a lot of recaps, a lot of highlights. So make sure you guys go ahead and share your comments. We do read them. We would like to drive our engagement up a little bit. We want to hear what you guys have to say. So go ahead and follow us on Instagram, Twitter at the 300 Club Podcast, and also at our YouTube page as well, where we post a majority of our content. So thank you guys for watching. And to get into the trade deadline, uh, no, recapping it really quickly as to what happened. The Dodgers made some pretty good moves. They acquired Jack Flaherty, great pitcher. I can see you already shaking your head. How you feel about the Dodgers?
I mean, I like the move, but damn, bro, the Dodgers do this shit every year, bro. I'm tired of it, bro. I feel
Yeah,
like yo, it's like Thanos with the Infinity Stones, bro. It's like you already have, I think, the highest payroll or top three payroll in the league. You have the best player in baseball, and you still need more. Like, damn, bro. And I
yeah,
feel like they don't have any penalty ever, bro.
no,
They have an elite prospect system, and they always have prospects coming up, and then they always land superstars in their primes. Like I don't get it, bro. Like you need more players, bro. Like come on, bro.
yo,
Damn, it's frustrating, bro.
I think I've gotten up to the point. I think I gotten up to the point where
You're like the
uh
Yankees of gold, bro. This shit is
yeah,
crazy.
but here's the thing about the Dodgers though, is that they're so good at well, they like to trade their prospects a lot. And I remember not too long ago, if you remember, they were literally top five for 4 or 5 years straight in terms of top prospects. So I'm at
Yeah.
that stage where I feel like they had so much gold in their minor leagues that they're able to use that as leverage to acquire these great players. That is up to the point where it's like you guys have to run out of prospects
I don't I
someday,
don't I don't
right?
I don't think they run out of prospects though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I
And
think the
and
scouting department is one of the best like in the league for a reason, bro.
is it really? I didn't even know that.
It
I
has to
mean,
be, bro, because there's no way.
yeah, I agree. And them acquiring Jack Flaherty, I mean, the dude is a stud pitcher.
Yeah.
He's definitely having a bounce back year. I feel like he figured it out. He has like 5, 6 pitches. I do feel like one thing that does take for granted a lot is the fact that he is pitching at a pitcher's ballpark, Comerica Park, which is significantly bigger. So I feel like his stats might be reflecting that. I see that the Yankees were after him too, as well as other pitchers as well, and they backed off because of his medical reasons. And as a Yankee fan, I'm not mad at that at all because we gotten bit by that like 2, 3 years ago with Frankie Montas. We acquired him even if he was injured, and he ended up only pitching like 5 to 7 starts with us. And that was a bad trade. So him going to the Dodgers, I mean, let's be honest too, the Dodgers have been hit with a lot of injuries. They're not as good as they should be because of the injuries. You have Max Muncy, you have the pitching staff with Dustin May. Walker Buehler has regressed a lot. I thought he was going to be a major top prospect for them. Um, so them retooling, like I said, I just think there's gonna come a time where they're gonna
You
run
know
out of
what's
prospects, and yeah,
you know what's crazy, bro? keyword that you mentioned, you said they're not as good as they should be, and they still first place in their own division, bro.
Yeah,
And they have what? They have the best. They have the second best record in the National League. Like this shit is crazy, bro. It's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I also
That,
feel like the West, as a whole, has been pretty. I don't know. I
you
guess
like that division?
they disappointed me a little bit. They disappointed me a little bit. I mean, I was riding the hype with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I thought that they, would gonna be a little bit more competitive, but it hasn't worked out that way. But I read somewhere and I like the way they worded it. As of right now, the Diamondbacks are playing playoff baseball. Every game is extremely important to them right now if they want to go ahead and make that playoff push. They acquired since we're talking about the trade deadline, they acquired, damn, what's that lefty bat? He has dreads and he used to play for the Marlins and the Pirates. Josh Bell. They acquired
Oh,
Josh
that,
Bell. Yeah, yeah,
mm.
they got Josh Bell as a substitute for losing Christian Walker due to injury. So I think they're trying. I think they're trying, and they can get one or two wins out of having Josh Bell on the team. They'll take it. So, um, moving on to another trade that I want to go ahead and get into after the Dodgers did it once again, dude. It's up to the point where I see those notifications and I see Dodgers, bro, and I'm just like, ah,
Bro,
damn,
it's
bro.
tiring, bro. I feel like they have all stars in every position, bro. It's insane, bro.
It's definitely tiring. But another team that has been making a lot of great moves, a lot of aggressive moves, and that's the San Diego Padres. They did it once again. They acquired not one but two great relief pitchers. And when it comes down to playoff baseball, have you can never have enough relief pitching that gets the job done. Number one, they got Jason Adams, and two, they got Tanner Scott from the Miami Marlins. Uh, really quickly, the Padres, they've shown the fact that they're not scared to make these moves when necessary, and arguably they have one of the best bullpens in the game just by adding these two pitches right here. One thing that does worry me is the fact that they're so aggressive in terms of trading their top prospects. That worries me. How do you feel
No, they
about
don't
that?
learn. They don't learn, bro. But I will give them credit. They are very aggressive. They also committed. And this is my issue with the Padres. I feel like ever since they signed Manny Machado, the first contract, their idea was this is a rebrand. We're gonna be a competing Padres. We're not gonna be mediocre. We're gonna take over Cali, and I feel like they have yet to do that. They have yet to knock the Dodgers at the pedestal. They tried one year, but it just didn't work. They have a high payroll. I feel like it happens every year. Like that team just fares out. I don't know what it is. They always get aggressive. They get the pitching. They get the offense. They have Xander Bogaerts that regressed. I don't know. They have Tatis that came back. He's still pretty good. Machado. I don't know. They have what Arias too that they traded for earlier this year too, and they
Yeah.
had to go with some prospects. They gave up a lot of processes in Juan Soto, he's a Yankee 1 year removed. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Like you said, it might bite them in the ass later on when they have to get rid of these long-term contracts or they feel like they already peaked and they can't get anything further than that. I don't know how they're gonna do it.
It's tough, man. I feel like the Padres are gonna be like this for the foreseeable future because they locked down Xander Bogaerts, who's missing a lot of time right now. Um, Fernando
Tatis.
Tatis, Manny Machado, they have them locked up for years to come, at least eight minimum
Oh my God.
each. At least 8 years each of these guys playing together for the San Diego Padres, well into their 40s at this point. And I respect the fact that they're trying. They are trying to compete and they're making the trades necessary. It's just that when you're making these moves where you're trading 10 out of your top 15 prospects, like you're gonna have to start spending a little bit of money. And it's like, where's the money gonna go? You have three max contracts in and more with Musgrove and you Darvish. It's like you need these prospects.
And what do you do? Like as a GM, when do you realize, okay, maybe this core of players they just don't click together. Maybe I should mix it up or like when do you realize? Because then it could be too late too.
Yeah.
That's also
Yeah.
something to consider. Like maybe these players individually are great, but maybe they just don't click together like to win games, you know?
How do you feel about AJ Preller, their GM?
Very risky. Hopefully he has a job and hopefully everything works out because I feel like if they don't make the playoff, if they're not a perennial playoff team every year at this point, he's gonna be gone soon, bro, because that Juan Soto deal may have killed him for the next several years if nothing
I
works
mean,
out.
they did acquire a lot of good pitching. That's one thing that I do give credit to is that they have been revamping the pitching, whether it's relief pitching, starting pitching,
But they're
and
old, bro.
yeah. But I mean, when they traded the prospects from the Yankees, I mean, from Juan Soto for the prospect of the Yankees, they traded a lot of young pitchers too. Um, so
Like
I'm
with
just
Michael
curious to
King
see
and
how it's
stuff.
gonna work out. Say that again.
You said like with like Michael King and stuff.
Like Michael King, but even the Dylan Ceases of the world too. Like I felt like,
That's like
they're yeah. They also had Johnny Brito too. He's young. Um, I feel like I just feel like they need to continue with this as long as they can because if they don't, it's gonna look really bad and they're gonna suck for a really long time. All right. So it's a fine line that they're walking. Another trade that I want to get into right now is the impact of Randy Rosarena going into the Seattle Mariners. I feel like the Mariners finally got a good bat, more or less. He's having a down year, but this is something out of the ordinary from the Seattle Mariners. I feel like they've been needing offense for a while. Julio Rodriguez definitely needs some help. They got a couple people there. I think they let go of Ty France too. Like, the Mariners is one of those teams where it's like I feel like they're not just one piece away. They're like three, four good pieces away from competing, and it's all on the offensive end. They have great pitching. It's just their offense is really not that good. But Randy Rosarena going into the Mariners, I feel like that's a good start, more or less. How do you feel about this trade?
um well, what's hurt them is that Julio Rodriguez hasn't been as good as his last two seasons.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not even close to as good. So I think that's they're also leaning on him to be like a big load of that production on the offense side, you know. Having Randy Rosarena does help. Numbers won't dictate how good. Well, he hasn't really been that good this year. He's still an above average player, OPS plus over 100, you know. I know his last 40 games has been really good. He's picked it up since like midway through June, I believe. I saw a stat. Um, Overall, hopefully he has more power. The power has not really been there like that this year, I feel.
Yeah, I
60
agree.
home runs is okay, you know, but he's capable of doing more. I know that in July he's been great, hitting 294, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs. But hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps Julio Rodriguez and I thought they were gonna try to get Pete Alonso too, but I guess with the Mets trying to compete too, that wasn't gonna happen. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think he's gonna have a more or less a good impact on the Mariners. We'll see. We'll wait and see. I just think it's also cool the fact that he relocated over to the West Coast and he became a citizen of Mexico and everything, and he represented them
Yeah.
in the WBC, and he's on the same coast as Mexico. So if he has a home out there, maybe it brings a little bit more, familiarity or being comfortable for him. So, shout out to him. I like the fact that he actually stayed. As a fan, watched the Rays game the night that he
Oh
was traded with his
yeah.
family. I thought that was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, to get into another trade that I felt like is going to be a huge impact, the Yankees desperately needed a player of this caliber, more or less, compared to what we already had, and that was the acquisition of Jazz Chisholm Jr. I love this trade for the Yankees. I love the fact that he is playing actually third base for us, and he has been 3 out of the 4 games that he's played for us so far. Um, I mean, you must have seen him a little bit all the times that he was. Sorry, excuse me, that he was playing for the National League East with the Mariners, with the Marlins. Excuse me. Do you want to talk a little bit about Jazz Chisholm as a player from your observations, one lefty to another?
All right. Um, I'm gonna start off with the negative and I'm gonna end up with the positive. I feel, and I've been feeling this for a few years now. I feel like Jazz Chisholm is a bit overrated. Actually, nah, not a bit. He's overrated, but that doesn't mean that he's a bad player. I just feel like he's overrated in the way that people like to speak about him. MLB The Show cover athlete. I don't think he was deserving. Nonetheless, he did make the All Star team. Like 2 3 years back. I don't think he had All Star numbers, but hey, anybody's an All Star nowadays. And yeah, I liked him as a second baseman before he went to center field. Not really sure why he tried to do that, but I guess he wants to show off his athleticism a little more. And yeah, um, I do like the trade for the Yankees though. I feel like he already peaked like his time. He overworked them to stay in Miami. Like they're not gonna compete. They do this every year. They just don't have the team. They don't have the right chemistry team. He came to the Yankees. He's a big Derek Jeter fan. Jeter traded for him back then in the Marlins, so it's only fitting that he's back in New York. I do like the fact that he's already producing as a Yankee. He's doing a little more than I expected so far. I
For
would say
sure.
I wouldn't expect you guys to think that he's gonna do this every game, but definitely a good start as a Yankee. He said what 4 home runs in 3 games,
Yeah, yeah. Well, they just played 4 out of 4 games now, so they just played one
four out of
today.
four.
Yeah.
Okay, and I feel like he's a plus to the lineup. He adds another lefty bat. Average, I wouldn't ask him to be an average hitter because he's not gonna hit for average. He's gonna hit a lot of home runs, not a lot, but he's a home run hitter. He can hit for some doubles. He can make some steals on the base paths. He's very flashy. He's very athletic. I would say if the Yankees are doing bad, I feel like you guys are gonna hate him because the way he plays the game with flair, with sauce. People are very traditional. Yankee fans are typically very traditional. But when he's hitting, he's doing positive things. You guys are gonna love him. He's very charismatic. So it's a give and take. But I like the move. I still think he should be playing second base for the Yankees. I do think that this move, since he's doing well right now, it kind of masks how much more Brian Cashman could have done for the Yankees at the deadline. I feel like it was a bit disappointing,
Nice.
but it just looks good because it's working out with Chisholm at this moment. I still feel like there's some holes in the lineup or in defense that they could have made, whether get another third baseman, maybe it's the time to flip Gleyber Torres. Because I feel like if the Yankees not gonna resign him, they should have just traded him. And it doesn't look like they're gonna resign him. And you have Jazz Chisholm under control, I believe, for another 2 3 years. So you might as well keep him. And he's the better player currently, so why not keep him? Verdugo has regressed, so I feel like maybe they would have tried to assert that. Stan came back, so I think that's probably why they didn't be as aggressive. Nonetheless, though, I feel like third base and maybe first base or catcher should have been an improvement for sure.
I definitely agree with a lot of your points. Majority of the points, I definitely agree with them. But I do disagree with some. So in terms of like him playing third base, I love that move. It was something that I didn't expect. When we acquired Jazz Chisholm, I thought Gleyber Torres was going to be gone. I agree. If we're not gonna keep him, then maybe there's something out there better for us. Maybe at second, or we could have moved Jazz to second and maybe acquired third baseman. But there weren't really a lot of third basemans out there in the market besides Ryan McMahon, and I don't think he was going to go anywhere at this moment. Um, One thing was for certain was that DJ LeMahieu definitely needed to go into a reserve role. So that starts with one. We definitely had that hole at third base. Over the weekend, since we have acquired him, one thing that I have seen is that he looks very smooth at third base. He plays pretty aggressively. He has the hands. Instinctually he plays it very very well. He turned a couple of double plays, made a couple of plays to the left and to the right that was very very smooth. So I think he's definitely capable of playing third base. So one thing that I did want on the team, like was a must, was versatility. We needed that's today's game at this point is having players that play multiple positions, and I feel like he definitely fits that bill. I don't expect him to play center field for much longer because we might be bringing up Jason Dominguez any week now, from what it
I
looks
saw
like.
otherwise though.
Say that one more time.
I believe Aaron Boone had a commentary or interview, and I saw otherwise. I feel like they're not really sure if they're bringing up Jason as of this moment because of the Jazz trade. So maybe they are going to platoon him between like center and the infield. The reason why I say I prefer him at second is because not that he's not capable of playing third. I just prefer him playing something more natural because he's had to adjust from being an infielder to an outfielder in about a year and a half to then switch to a whole brand new position again. I feel like it's just a little too much in terms of like changing the footwork, reading the balls, the timing. And over
I
time,
agree.
maybe that can be exploited. And I feel like second is something that he has the speed to get the range,
More
whereas I
natural to him.
Gleyber, it's more natural and Gleyber doesn't have the same range as him.
I
That's
agree.
how I'm thinking about it, but maybe it can
I
work.
yeah. No, I all the way agree. 100% I agree with everything you said. It would have made me feel better to see him at second base, but like I mentioned before, in the past 4 games, he's been
Yeah.
playing third base really, really well for now. For
Yeah.
now, let's see how it works out. When it's at Yankee Stadium and he's going 0 for
Yeah.
4. Let's see then. But for now, he looks like he's getting the job. He's getting the job done at third base.
Yeah.
And I think that he can definitely have spot starts at center field. To give Aaron Judge a break, Stanton, Soto, Verdugo. So Jason Dominguez, whether he's going to be brought up or not, I think I think that could still be a possibility as a September call up. You never know. But the acquisition of Jazz Chisholm definitely stalled that. It made us feel as though like we're not as pressured enough to bring him up. But to your point, with Jazz Chisholm, I feel like for in Yankee Stadium, it's definitely one of those situations where it's like, let's see when things go wrong. How is he gonna react to the Yankee crowd? But he's one person that I feel like when the moments when there's big moments, a bigger stage, I feel like he excels there. I think that that's probably played into a little bit as to why he not struggled in the Marlins, but didn't perform as well. He is overrated. Don't get me wrong. I do not expect him to be a Hall of Famer. Maybe a All Star game here or there, but that lefty bat at Yankee Stadium, I think he's gonna profile as like another Didi Gregorius, a great infielder, great glove, great bat because of that right field. But that right field is definitely going to boost the stats up a little bit. So,
I I compare Jazz a little, not in terms of like production, but in terms of the way they play the game and like their vibe. I compare Jazz Chisholm a lot to Marcus Stroman. I don't know if you can
yeah,
see the resemblance.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
like they very like emotional on the field and they like to express it, whether they're doing good or bad, And they also black players, so I feel like you're gonna see a lot of them together a lot.
I
For
agree,
their,
and I think the vibes in the Yankee clubhouse is changing, dude. Like
they
even
needed
now,
that.
like
They
yeah, they
needed that.
absolutely, absolutely. So I feel
Yeah,
like they're beginning to embrace players like a Chaz Chisholm, and if you look at it now, a lot of these younger players are mimicking these sort of players like Jazz Chisholm,
they
the dude
should.
that Royce from the Twins, and they should absolutely. So I think the Yankees is an organization that's beginning to embrace that. Go ahead.
The something that I didn't like is that leading up to the deadline, a few like several days prior to getting Jazz, there was talks from the Yankees that they were concerned about Jazz's behavior and whether they should do that in terms of trading him. And I didn't like that because I feel like again you need change, bro, with the
Right,
times.
right, right,
It's
right.
like it's like why wouldn't you want a black player in the New York market? There's
Well,
already a lack of black players in baseball. Why shy away
well,
from that?
I don't
It
think it
doesn't
has to
feel
do.
traditional. I think it does, bro.
Yeah,
Historically.
I think it more had to do with, he's very outspoken, and then in a place like New York where everything can be taken out of context. I think they wondered about that and with the vibe of the clubhouse because you already have dominant personalities like a Marcus Stroman, like a Verdugo. But from one thing that I've seen in the past 4 games is that the Yankees have embraced him so far. But one thing that I always say, everything is good when y'all win. I want to know what's
No, of
gonna happen
course,
when y'all
of
lose. So
course.
like right now, like DJ LeMahieu, who's not one to like be emotional at all at the field, he hit a grand slam today, and then when he did run in the bases, the celebration that Jazz Chisholm does, the look in the eyes celebration,
But he wouldn't do
and
that if he wasn't there.
right. But the point is that they're adopting everything that Jazz Chisholm has brought to them. In terms of energy, you have Aaron Judge that's always bringing his glove out to the field and stuff like that, and they're infielders and outfielders, and he's doing that for him. So I don't know. I feel like the Yankee clubhouse is beginning to accept that, and I feel like the Yankees as an organization is open to changes because they're even allowing players to wear Statue of Liberty green or themed out
Yeah, I've been seeing that more
equipment.
this. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I feel like they're definitely becoming a little bit more relaxed. But we shall
But
see.
that's
Like I
good
said,
though. That's great. I feel like the Yankees needed
yeah,
that. And I feel like that's a way to attract more fans too, because not everybody wants that corporate vibe. Like
yeah,
you have to look a certain way, you have to walk a certain way. Like sometimes
nah,
it's okay to have expression. There's ways to express yourself in different ways. And if a player's flashy and that's how he locks in to be motivated and motivate his team, then so be it. You can't be like, oh, I don't like his antics. Nah, man, just do it. He's a baller, bro. He's overrated, but he's a baller at the end of the day. And he's gonna
yeah,
change the dynamic to the team. Now you have Stroman, now you have Jazz, and now you have Soto. Three players that are all electric in their own way. They
I
try, like you
yeah,
said, it spreads to the whole clubhouse.
I agree. And as long as he can hit us at least 240 to 260,
Yeah,
20
yeah,
20 home runs, and with that right
yeah,
field, I feel like that's
yeah.
very
I'll
modest.
take
I
that.
think that's a
I'll
reasonable
take that.
expectation, right? And then the other good factor is that he runs the bases. He's fast. And now we have him, Anthony Volpe. We're in the speed department. We're definitely getting there. When Jason Dominguez comes up, he's another one that has wheels. So, one thing that you did mention also about the Yankees' trade deadline acquisitions is that they didn't do enough, and I agree with that too. I still feel like in terms of the starting pitching, we could have at least acquired one more starting pitcher, and it didn't necessarily have to be a huge move, but more like a death piece. You know, we have a lot of these pitchers that are coming back, but we acquired Mark Leiter Jr., De Los Santos, Inya De Los Santos, the flamethrower. Um, we definitely have more bullpen pieces coming back, but I expected at least another move.
Yeah, because right
You
now
know,
I'm not if I'm a Yankee fan, I don't know if I feel fully confident in Rodon and Nestor Cortez heading to the playoffs, bro.
I agree.
Garrett Cole is not Garrett Cole currently either, so it's like it's a lot of question marks, you know? It's a lot of question marks.
And then if you look at the closer, I mean, dude,
Oh,
like
what's this
Clay
guy's name? Oh,
Holmes,
you mentioned it. You mentioned it, bro. Yo, you
yo, he
mentioned it, and
is
that's all I
bad.
see on Twitter right now that people are like, oof, losing their minds with him, you
It's
know?
bad. Yeah. And I feel like that's going to be one of our major flaws. We're playing around with fire. We've already proven the fact that our offense was not that good in for the past 6 to 7 weeks. So what makes
Yeah.
you think that that's probably not going to happen in playoffs? And then in addition to that, even though our pitching staff started off pretty good, like you said, the Nestor Cortezes, the Carlos Rodons, even the Clark Schmidt. I mean, this is the second year under his belt. Garrett Cole hasn't been the same. And we don't have a shutout bullpen. We have a bullpen that throws to contact. How you expect that to go down in playoffs? It's gonna be a fun ride. I'll tell you that much. So, um, yeah, we'll see. But nonetheless, we wanted to go ahead and dive into previously what happened with the Yankees and Mets. The Mets definitely sweep the Yankees this year. That's something that I don't think any of us expected. But shout out to the Mets, man. You guys definitely did your thing. Throughout the year, you guys did phenomenal against us. You guys smoked us on more than one occasion. And you guys are definitely making a great playoff push right now. You guys also acquired Paul Blackburn, a relief pitcher. Going into the trade line, what were some of your expectations about the Mets and what their game plan was supposed to be?
Honestly, bro, I feel like if I were to grade our trade deadline, I'd give us like a solid B, maybe B plus. And I only say that because the 2 years prior for like our previous GM, like he kind of hurt us, you know, in the present and in the future. Whereas now we traded players, we didn't really give up any top 16 prospect, you know, like we kept most of our top prospects and the players that we got back to impact us now. Like Jesse Winker, he could be a fourth outfielder, but you know, at his best, he's a starter. So if you could get any sound, any resemblance of him at his peak, that's a great bat to have in your lineup. And at his peak, he's a great contact hitter too. You know that gave for power like in Cincinnati. You know,
Yeah.
so he has some relationships with like Lindor and Pete. So he's from New York too. So
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's what's up.
he's from
That's what's
Buffalo.
up.
He's from Buffalo. Yeah.
Nice. What a homecoming for him.
Yeah, so I think he's a good vibe for the ball club. Paul Blackburn adds depth to the pitching. We lost Sanga after pitching one game, and he was pitching immaculate that game too. But we lost him, so maybe that's the new guy's spot. Paul Blackburn in the rotation. Sean Manai, he's been great at the middle of the rotation. High 3 ERA, that's what you expect out of the middle rotation. Jose Quintana's been dealing lately. Severino got rocked today, but overall he's been pretty solid. We have a solid team, and I thought we were gonna be worse than we are currently. And this team has been taking off since like first week of June at a
Yeah.
crazy pace. The offense is crazy. Everybody's taking turns doing something. Somebody gets cold, somebody else steps up. The pitching's been consistent. The bullpen is we got some bullpen pieces, so I like that. Some players got released to make space for them. We just need some rest, but other than that, we're rolling right now. We still got the best record in the last 45 games. Um, we just beat the Twins right now, and I'm excited for the rest of the season. I didn't expect two like crazy moves like we said earlier because I feel like the Mets are not fully in like compete mode, but they're trying to go for the playoffs. You know, there's about what 5, 6 teams competing for a wild card spot currently in the NL, starting from the Braves all the way down to the yeah, you can see the Cincinnati Reds got a chance. They 5 games out from the last spot. That's a lot of teams, bro.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're absolutely right on that. I didn't even show that real quick, but
Yeah, it's
no.
about 8 teams that are competing for 3 wildcard spots. So that's good, you know. It's gonna be interesting as the season ends, you know, all those 7 teams, 8 teams.
Yeah.
And the Mets are there, man, and I'm happy. And they even had a chance to be the first wild card a few days ago, but they lost like 2 games in a row, so that kind of dipped them. But they still there, man. And if you look at their turnaround from being 11 games under to what 7 games above 500, that's a crazy turnaround, bro.
That is a crazy
And
turnaround for
that's
real.
and that's and that that's a magical season. Like that's those are the elements of a magical season. That those random teams that get hot, like the D-backs last year. Like those
Yeah.
are those teams that are quietly like hunting and fighting, and then they just get rolling. And there's always one or two teams in baseball that always do that. And if the Mets can do that this year, even if they lose in the playoffs, hey, that's a success to me, bro.
And,
That's how I
and
look
one
at it.
and one thing about the Mets too is that they look like they're having a lot of fun too in that clubhouse.
Yeah, bro. Jose
Yeah.
Iglesias, bro. Oh
Yeah.
my God. You
Yeah.
got Vientos. I love this kid, bro. He finally got his chance, bro. He's nice, bro.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully, Juan and Mauricio, when he comes back either at the end of this year or next year, he
Word.
joins
That's
the
another
party.
electric
That's another good
player.
energy
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Now, so
I'm
I'm
excited.
happy for the Mets. I'm happy for the Mets. They definitely turned it around. I can see the Atlanta Braves, even though they made some moves towards the trade deadline, I can see them possibly declining a little bit depending on their
Yeah,
scheduling. I
yeah.
do feel like it's definitely going to be down to Arizona, the Mets, and the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals did they do enough in the trade deadline? I
They
don't think
traded
so. They
for they
traded Devin
traded they traded
Carson.
they traded for your man, so one that you don't like.
Oh, Tommy Pham, Tommy Pham. Yeah, they ended
Yeah,
up
that's
getting
a good
him.
pickup for them, though. I like that.
I actually saw an interview with Tommy Pham on Foul Territory. Shout out to Foul Territory, but um he was able to express how he was like misunderstood, how he's constantly misunderstood. And I
Yeah.
will say that after seeing how vulnerable he was in that interview, I am gonna say that as a man, I respected him a little bit more. Not for real, man. Like, yeah, like I really gave him a chance and like try to
Yeah.
understand like why is it that he's this type of player.
He has a
And
lot on his shoulder, bro. His struggle,
yeah,
the
yeah.
black man in base was a lot, bro.
And not only that, but I appreciate how going into this offseason that it probably wasn't the best experience for him. Like he didn't get his first offer until at some point in like late February or such. But somehow he's always in high demand during trade talks, so he just doesn't understand that. Um,
Oh,
but the fact that he's able to express that, and I respected him a lot more. So I'm not a huge fan of Tommy Pham, but he definitely earned my respect there. So shout out to
yeah,
him.
maybe they're going to run because he was playing for arguably the worst team in baseball.
And he played himself
Like
out of there too.
he got himself out of that to a playoff potential team. Like like it changes your whole mood. Like now
Yeah,
you play with players that are winning players, and
for
maybe
the
maybe
most
he
part.
contributes. And he's contributed in every team he's in. So I
Yeah.
expect the same for the Cardinals.
I agree. And then lastly, you spoke about how the Mets have been rolling for approximately 2 months now, which has
Boston
been
too.
phenomenal. Yeah. Yankees, no, Boston too has been extremely hot too. That could be a really sneaky team. The Yankees right now are in half game back of first place for the American League East.
Yeah,
I think it's something where it's gonna come down to the wire. I feel like Baltimore also made a lot of good moves involving their pitching staff. They
yeah.
called up Justin Holiday too, which is phenomenal for them. Um, but I feel like the Yankees, like I said, they're on a 5 game winning streak. It's crazy that we did that bad for 2 months and we're still second place in the AL East. That's crazy. But it's
Yeah.
go time, and I feel like even though we didn't necessarily acquire a lot of players during the trade deadline, I feel like we have enough. I feel like we have enough. Um, it's just that these players like the Ben Rices of the world who's playing first base, he's a rookie. He needs to develop a little bit. First base is definitely a hole. Anthony Volpe definitely needs to step it up. He's a very up and down hitter. Stanton, I expect him to do bad right now, but one thing that I did see out of Stanton this game specifically is that he's no longer batting closed off.
Oh,
He's a
he
little
changed it again.
Yeah, he's a little bit more directly towards the pitcher. So
I
I
gotta
think
see that.
he
Yeah,
I think he's a player that, when he comes back from from the IL, he's really, really cold off rip. So I
yeah,
feel like he's trying to negate that right now and just continue because he's been pretty productive when he's healthy this year. Um,
yeah.
but like I said, the question still remains, we don't have a good closer, and I'm gonna say that to the end. I don't think we have a good closer. I
I
do think
think
that Verdugo, Gleyber Torres, I think the acquisition of Jazz
don't put pressure
is is putting pressure on Gleyber Torres, exactly. And at the end of the day, if you want that contract at the end of the year, your walk year, well, you gotta thug that shit out and do what you
Yeah,
gotta do, bro. This
yeah,
is your
yeah.
shot. So he needs to wake up, and I think the acquisition of Jazz Chisholm definitely did that. Um,
I
the
feel
pitching
like I feel
staff,
like
yeah,
I feel like what's up the Yankees too. Like despite these struggles, the last like practically 2 months, I feel like the Orioles have also struggled in a sense too. So that's why
they should have pulled away.
the Orioles had a chance to pull away, but they also struggled too. So I feel like that's why the race is neck and neck between them, and they allowed Boston to get in the mix. Like maybe Boston wants to get the division, but they're 2.5 games back from the wild card, so they're within conversation, sneaking up. And I want to sleep on Boston. Like I know the Yankees just beat them, but I wouldn't sleep on Boston, So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And if anything, I'm a Yankee fan, obviously, but I do appreciate good sorry, excuse my language, ball clubs. And the Boston Red Sox is definitely that right now. They're a gritty team, with Jaron Duran and so on. I do feel like they need a lot more pitching. I feel like that's the big separator
yeah,
right now. But one
yeah.
person who has emerged as an ace and one would not expect it was Tanner Houck. He has been a phenomenal ace for the Boston Red Sox thus far. But they still need more pitching.
Yo,
But that's
bro, quick question. I'm surprised this dude from Detroit didn't get traded. Schoolboy, bro.
Yeah.
Tariq
I actually was thinking he was probably gonna go to Boston as a sleeper pick
or the Orioles.
or the Orioles too.
The
Yeah.
Orioles got the prospects to give him up.
Yeah. But it'd be interesting. Like I could see Corbin Burns during the offseason go to Boston too, Like the
Ooh.
Boston is definitely gonna be in the market for starting pitching next year because it's one
Then
thing that they established this year is that their offense is even though it's not that elite, they have something brewing,
they got
you
the
know.
pieces. Yeah.
They
Um,
definitely developed the pieces.
and this guy that we talked about in previous episodes from the White Sox, Gary Crochet. I read somewhere that I think some teams probably didn't trade for him because of what he said. He
His
mentioned something
demands.
along the lines
How,
where he wants, like, if he gets traded, he has to get a contract extension.
how do you feel about his demands? Garrett Crochet's demands that he wanted an extension and he wanted to stay as a starting pitcher. So any team that was willing to trade for him had
That's
to
what
fulfill those demands. How do you feel about that?
if I'm him or if I'm a team trying to get him.
Give me both sides of the coins. What's your opinion on Garrett Crochet doing that? And if you're a GM, what's your opinion on his demands?
If I'm him, I understand it because you want the financial security because you feel like now I gotta change my preparation from a team that sucks in a division that's weaker to a potentially stronger division to play playoff baseball. Now I gotta ramp up maybe my routine, my focus. Maybe they're gonna add. Maybe I'm gonna be put to pitch a lot of innings down the season down the line. Maybe that's an injury risk. Maybe I'll mess up my back in the future. That's how he's thinking, and I
Yeah.
understand it
Now
from
as
a
a GM,
from a GM's point of view. I don't think I want to get him because what if he does get injured at the end of the season? What if he's overworked and he's not as good as he was in the White Sox in probably the easiest division in baseball, and now he's getting rocked in the AOE, so NOE, so wherever you're at, and he's not the same player you traded for him in value. Now you're stuck with him. So I think ultimately that's what led teams to not try to get him. His comments, to be honest.
I agree, and I'm gonna say this really quickly. It's the same thing with Gleyber Torres. They asked Gleyber Torres about playing third, and he said, "I want to stick to second base." And that's one of my biggest pet peeves in baseball is that when you're not willing to fulfill the
You don't
need of
like
the
that?
team. I mean, at the end, I just don't feel like that's the right answer. Like, if the team needs you to play third base, I think your answer should be, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that." At the end of the day, it's a team sport. So that's number one. With the Garrett Crochet thing, like him staying, he wanted to stay as a starter pitcher. All right, let me say it like this. From his perspective, I understand it because if that's what you want, you have the right to demand that's what you want your career to be. But I think that should be something that should be done behind closed doors. Two, if I'm a GM, it's one of those where it's like I'm staying away from him because of those demands, and I feel like it's a track record that starting pitchers, when it's like their first full year being a starter pitcher, it's best to have an innings cap on them because they tend to show a little bit of fatigue towards the end of the year. And if he's gonna go to a great team right now that's
Gonna
trying
be
to
work.
contend, right, he could
Yeah.
be overworking his arm. So it's one of those where it's like it probably wasn't worth it. At the end of the day, he lost out of this. And the
Yeah.
reason why he lost is because this is exactly what's gonna happen. And mark my words, what's gonna happen to Garrett Crochet is that they're going to continue to lose. The Chicago White Sox are going to continue to lose. And at some
Yeah.
point, they're going to have to shut him down, not only to protect his health, but because there's no reason to have him pitch. There's no reason for it. Now he's going to go into the offseason with a lot more question marks. You shut him down for the year. How's he going to react to that? Secondly, even though his value might be up in the offseason, now he's wondering what team am I going to go to? That's something that's out of your control. You don't know where you're going to go out of the 29 other teams that's there you know?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he missed out on that. I feel like that was an L by him. I feel like it was really dumb of him to request it. I think that's very selfish. That's something that if a team asks you to do something, at the end of the day, it's not just one player. It's considering 39 other men. You know what I'm saying? It's a team thing. So,
Question before we wrap up about Glaber. So I want to speak about that a little bit. So
okay.
can you expand a little more? Why do you like his comments that he said that? And then I'll tell you what I think.
Okay, so I understand that from his perspective, he wants to stay at second base because that's probably where he's the most comfortable at. If the team did some data and showed him that he could actually be a little bit better of a third baseman than a second baseman, I think that's something that he should be considering. Now, he declined it because he's just more like he knows himself and he knows that he can't play third and that's not where he could probably excel at. I get that, but at the end of the day, I understand it from his perspective. You don't want something to hurt your value towards the end of the year when it's your walk year, and you don't want to be learning something in the middle of the year and not be bad at it. I get it, but at the end of the day, if the team asks you to do something, I think that it shows a lot more respect to not only yourself but to the organization and your teammates. That this is something a sacrifice that you're willing to do for the team to win. That's my view on it.
Got it. So this I took a lot from that. So for one, I feel like with him saying that he wants to stay at second, that shows me that he's not confident in playing third. So if he's not confident in playing third, I'm just not gonna put him at third because he already shown that as a shortstop, he was a very bad and he's a bad defender at second, but he was a very bad defender at short. And now you ask him to play third in a position where reaction time is like this compared to second. I don't think that's gonna be a good mesh. Now, the comments itself, I don't hate because I understand that as a player. It just looks bad when you're saying those comments and you're not hitting on your contract year. And it's like, damn, bro, like you're not even trying to do anything for the team. But if he was hitting like his best self, his peak self, and he's saying that, I don't think anybody should get mad because at the end of the day, he's a star. If assuming he's a star, right? I don't think you can get mad at a star saying,
Yeah,
"No,
don't,
I
don't
don't."
fix what's not broken at that point. If he's
Nah,
if he's doing good offensively, but the thing
like
is like
Like if
is
Utah Tees, if Utah Tees, for example, and they ask him to go to right field because there's concerns of him is short, but he's a star and you paid him, and he'd be like, "Nah, I want to go to outfield." You can't really get tired of him, bro, because
yeah.
he wants to work on his game and feel comfortable at short, and he's a star. You have to treat stars a certain way to the rest of your players. Well, does it look bad? Yes, favoritism, but it is what it is. You're a star and others aren't.
No,
If
yeah,
you
they
want
earned that. They earned that.
want to get treated the same, play like a star, play better. That's all I can say, bro. It's the same way that if I'm a pitcher and I get rocked and the kid is showboating and I get tight because he's showboating, I can't tell him you don't showboat. Nah, I gotta pitch better, bro. I gotta strike you out so you don't do that. Same thing as a hitter. A pitcher strikes me out and I get tight because he choked me out and he's dancing. Nah, my next thing is don't strike out. So that's the same logic applies. You gotta if you're a star, you could warrant certain things where you can do things, you don't want to do things. I do like Jazz's mentality though, but I get why he's saying that. He's saying he'll play whatever because he's coming to a team that's a winning team. He's gonna be in the playoffs potentially every year, better than what he was in Miami. And he's coming to a team that already has other stars and superstars. So he has to walk on light shoes. Whereas a guy like Labor, he's already been there. He's been through the grind. He's having a shitty year. I don't think the response is the best. Again, only because he's sitting so bad. So everything he does now is amplified and magnified. He makes errors almost every game at second now. I think he has the most errors in the league at second or in any position. But what are you gonna do? You can't DH him.
No,
You
definitely
got
not. We need
Stanton.
him. We need him to play well. That's what it is.
And at this point, if he's not gonna play that well, you might consider benching him. But then it's like he's not gonna take that well. So again, I would have traded him for that particular reason because I don't think he's gonna turn it around. Like, yeah, he's gonna have 1, 2 games here and there, but like a stretch of games, I don't see that this year. I feel like he's mentally drained. He's probably already ready to leave out of New York. The fans are already against him after they loved him for so many years. Every time he does an error, he feels like, damn, like why does the ball have to come to me?
It
Why
just
why is it an error?
it
Like
feels
you
heavier and
want the
heavier.
ball, that mentality when you don't want the ball, like damn, I'm not
Yeah,
confident and I'm not
yeah,
hitting. It's tough, bro. It's tough.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Not a lot of good points there. But yeah, that's pretty much wraps up our episode. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Make sure you guys go ahead and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at the 300 Club Podcast. Go ahead and sign us out, Gil.
It's episode 13 again. We spoke a lot about the trade deadline, some of the Mets, some of the Yankees, some quirks within the game. Please subscribe. Please, we need that. Share, comment, like, suggestions, anything, DM, collaborations, anything. We're all open to it. Thank you guys for your time. This is Gilbert. You know, jeez.